You know, we all think we know the story of World War II. It was a war of tanks and planes and soldiers on the battlefield. But what if I told you that behind all of that, another war was being fought? A secret war, a shadow war of codes and ciphers that would end up deciding the fate of millions.
This line, right here, it just nails it, doesn't it? This wasn't about who had the most firepower. It was about who had the best information. The side that could keep its own secrets safe while cracking the enemy's, well, that side would have the ultimate upper hand. It sounds kind of crazy, right? But that's the big question we're diving into. We're going to find out how a handful of quiet geniuses, unsung heroes, and even forgotten languages became some of the most powerful weapons in the entire war. So let's start on this invisible battlefield. Imagine a place where the fighting isn't done in trenches, but in whispers, hidden inside radio signals zipping through the air. And the weapons here were codes and ciphers. Quick primer, a code is like swapping whole words, say using eagle to mean attack. A cipher, on the other hand, just scrambles up the individual letters. Both were absolutely critical in this fight. And believe me, the stakes were just astronomically high. Every leader, from Churchill to Hitler, knew this. If your code got broken, your entire army could be wiped out before a single shot was even fired. Just one tiny slip-up, one intercepted message, and your whole strategy could completely fall apart.
And right at the very heart of this invisible war was one of the most famous, or maybe infamous, devices ever made, the German Enigma machine.
To the Nazis, the Enigma was their masterpiece. It kind of looked like a clunky typewriter, but it was the absolute core of their war effort. It scrambled every single high-level command, from U-boat attacks to battlefield orders, into what they were sure was just complete and utter gibberish. And this is why they were so confident. 150 quintillion. That's how many possible settings the Enigma machine had, every single day. I mean, trying to break that by hand wasn't just hard, it was literally considered impossible. But the Allies had a secret weapon of their own. Hidden away at this top-secret British estate called Bletchley Park, a brilliant and, pretty eccentric mathematician named Alan Turing was leading a team to do that very impossible thing.
See, Turing's real genius was that he knew you couldn't beat this machine with just human brains. You had to build a machine to fight a machine. His team also figured out a key weakness: human error. German operators got lazy. They'd use predictable patterns or even sign off messages with Heil Hitler. And those little cracks were all Turing's creation, the bomb, needed. It was an electromechanical beast that churned through thousands of Enigma settings a second. And then, one day, it worked. The Allies were listening. And the impact of that breakthrough? It was staggering. We're not talking about a small victory. Historians now believe that cracking Enigma shortened the war by at least 2 years. 2 years! And saved millions of lives. It was, without a doubt, one of the most important secret victories of the entire war. Okay, so while all this high-tech machine versus machine drama was going down in Europe, a completely different strategy was taking shape in the Pacific, and this brings us to a group of incredible heroes known as the Navajo Code Talkers. The US was really struggling against the Japanese ciphers. Their machines just couldn't crack them. So they tried something totally radical, almost backward. What if the answer wasn't a new piece of tech, but something ancient? The solution, it turned out, was the incredibly complex, unwritten language of the Navajo Nation. And here's the brilliant part. They didn't just speak Navajo over the radio. They built a code inside the language. So for example, a tank became Che Dagagahi, which is the Navajo word for turtle. A dive bomber was Ginny, or chicken hawk. And a submarine? That was Beishlo, the iron fish. It was incredibly fast, super efficient, and to the enemy, it was just noise. And I mean, just look at the results. When you put them side by side, it's stunning. The complex machine-made ciphers, they were eventually broken. But the Navajo code, based on the beautiful simplicity of a human language, it was never, ever broken. To this day, it's one of the only military codes in history that an enemy has never deciphered. But, not every secret from the war has been unlocked. There are still these ghost codes floating around, mysteries used by regular people, and some that are still completely unsolved.
This is where the story gets really personal. We're not talking about huge government operations anymore. On the streets of occupied Europe, ordinary people were fighting back with just breathtaking cleverness. The color of a sheet on a laundry line wasn't just laundry, it was a signal. Vital intelligence on microfilm was baked into loaves of bread or stuffed inside a child's doll. Even prisoners of war would hide secret coordinates in the lines of love poems they sent home. Every single act was a massive risk, and every message sent was a tiny victory.
Which brings us to one of the war's most tantalizing, most maddening puzzles. It's just a single piece of paper found in the ruins of a German intelligence post, covered in symbols that, to this day, no one can read. It's known as the Feiger cipher.
So what does it say? The honest answer is, we have no idea. People have guessed its coordinates to hidden Nazi gold or maybe escape routes for high-ranking officers. Part of the problem is we have nothing to compare it to, no context. It could be a really complex cipher, or maybe even a one-time pad, which is theoretically unbreakable. For now, it's just a whisper from the war that we still can't quite hear.
So, after all these incredible stories, what does it all mean for us? What's the takeaway? Well, the legacy of this shadow war is actually all around us, usually hidden in plain sight.
You know, the craziest part is that for the men and women who fought this secret war, their victory was silence. There were no parades for them. Their work was so top secret that it stayed classified for decades. People like Alan Turing, the Navajo Code Talkers, all the brilliant analysts at Bletchley Park. For a whole generation, nobody knew what they'd done. But you can draw a straight line from their secret work to the world you and I live in right now. The thinking behind the bombing machine, this idea of a programmable device built to perform logical tasks, that became a foundational concept for modern computers. Seriously, every single password you type, every encrypted message you send, that's a direct descendant of the technology born in this war. And that really brings us back to the big idea. The Shadow War proved, beyond a doubt, that information, knowing what your enemy is planning, is the most powerful weapon you can possibly have. It can be way more decisive than any bomb. So I'll leave you with this final thought. The battle for information, it didn't just stop in 1945. It just evolved. It really makes you think. If the secrets of the 1940s decided the fate of the entire world, what are the hidden codes and secret knowledge that are shaping our lives right now?